When I moved into a quiet suburban neighborhood, the last thing I expected was to clash with the HOA president, Karen, a woman who thrived on power, gossip, and intimidation. But things escalated the moment I discovered financial discrepancies in our HOA's budget, missing maintenance funds, and fake invoices, all approved by her signature. I quietly gathered evidence and submitted it to the board, never realizing Karen would find out and completely lose control, because instead of defending herself, she went after the one person she thought would make me back down, my 12-year-old son. It happened on a warm Saturday afternoon when my son was on our second-floor balcony, just drawing and enjoying the breeze, and Karen barged into our yard screaming about false accusations and how I was trying to ruin her life. And before my son could even react, she stormed up the stairs, grabbed his sketchbook, threw it over the railing, and in the chaos shoved him hard enough that he lost his balance and slipped near the edge, his hands scrambling to grip the railing as he cried out in fear. And even though he didn't fall thanks to pure luck and a quick grab on the metal bar, that moment froze my blood. I heard the scream from inside, sprinted out, and saw Karen standing over my terrified boy with zero remorse on her face, only rage. She actually yelled at me that my son shouldn't be outside if he can't handle heights, and something inside me snapped, not violently, but with a terrifying clarity, because this was no longer about HOA politics. This was about my child's safety, and if she was willing to hurt a kid over getting caught stealing from homeowners, she was capable of much worse. I called the police immediately while comforting my son, and Karen tried to spin a story about how he tripped, and she tried to help. But neighbors who heard the commotion came forward, two of them recording from across the street, telling officers they saw her push him during her meltdown. The police took statements, escorted Karen away, and opened a formal investigation. But I wasn't done. Not when she had committed fraud and endangered my child. So while she scrambled to do damage control, I compiled every financial document, every receipt, every anonymous complaint that had been buried under her leadership, and met with a lawyer who specialized in HOA crime. Within a week, he helped me file charges for fraud, embezzlement, harassment, endangerment of a minor, and abuse of position. When the HOA board realized how deep the corruption went, money she stole from neighborhood renovations, fake fines she issued to homeowners she didn't like, even kickbacks she demanded from contractors, they held an emergency vote and removed her from the HOA permanently. The lawsuit gained local media attention when parents in the area demanded justice for what she did to my son, and reporters camped outside her home as she tried to hide behind closed blinds. But the real hit came when her employer, who had strict policies regarding integrity and public conduct, terminated her after seeing the police reports and fraud charges. Her reputation collapsed overnight, her finances tanked from legal fees, and she ended up being forced to sell her home to pay restitution. Meanwhile, my son recovered emotionally with therapy and support from neighbors, and I became a community advocate pushing for transparency in HOs nationwide, turning our traumatizing experience into a movement that protected countless families. On the day we finally closed the case, my son hugged me and said, "Dade, thank you for not letting her get away with it." And in that moment, I realized Karen hadn't just lost her position. She lost every ounce of power she ever abused. And we gained something she could never destroy: a safer neighborhood, stronger community, and a son who knew his father would move mountains for him. And as I wrapped up the story for my viewers, I said, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because corruption hides in the quietest places, and you never know whose story might save someone else.